Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Training Industry Leader Talk, Engage Learners with AI-powered content, sponsored by Adobe, CGS Immersive, ComLab India, Infopro Learning, and Skooks. I'm Avery Vogt, Events Manager here at Training Industry, and I'm thrilled you could all join us today. Before we get started, I'd like to quickly go over just a few housekeeping items to help you interact with our speaker and get the most out of today's program. Throughout today's event, please feel free to use the chat for comments and submit questions in the Q&A panel. All questions will be addressed during the event or at the end of the program during our Q&A section. At the end of the event, you'll notice a short survey has popped open in your browser, and we'd appreciate your thoughts on today's event. And as always, all of our sessions are being recorded and will be archived on trainingindustry.com, and you will receive a follow-up email from us with a link to the on-demand sessions. If this is your first Training Industry event, a special welcome goes out to you. Training Industry exists to make connections among learning and development professionals. We offer tons of resources to support your role in L&D through live events like today's Leader Talk, as well as through articles on our website, our magazine, conferences, research reports, and our podcasts. We would also love to hear about what you've learned from today's session on social media, so please follow us on your favorite platforms and let's continue the conversation. And now, without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce you to our speaker, Nolan Hout. Nolan is a dynamic leader in the learning and development industry, currently serving as the Vice President of Growth at Infopro Learning, where he helps drive the company's vision of becoming the foremost talent development partner for global brands. Nolan has rapidly ascended through various roles, leveraging his entrepreneurial spirit and leadership abilities to transform teams and drive significant growth. As a Forbes Council member and L&D podcast host, he actively contributes to the industry dialogue through speaking engagements and consulting with business leaders. Nolan, we are super excited to have you. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Avery, and thank you, Training Industry, for putting this on. So it's such a great event. Always really have a lot of fun, and hopefully we can impart a lot of wisdom with everybody today. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. As Avery said, please do, ask questions, chat along the way. I've got it pulled up off to the side here, so I'll try to get to as many as I can kind of as they come through. Anything I can't get to, my commitment to you is that I'll try to find a way to make sure that we can connect afterwards, and answer every question. Today, really what I want to focus on, this actually stemmed from an idea at Brandon Hall Conference a couple months ago. I had a 15-minute presentation on AI. And I realized that really what I wanted to do was to just give very practical things that people could start leveraging today to make an impact in their world. As I know there's a lot of talk about AI, and a lot of it, in my opinion, seemed to be fairly high level. I wanted to bring things down into the weeds and talk a little bit about Infopro Learning's journey through AI, and possibly give you a fast start so you don't have to learn those lessons that we had to. Just a tiny bit about Infopro Learning. We are a full service corporate training organization. Been ranked, I think, for the past 8, 9, maybe 10 years in a row by trainingindustry.com as a top 20 outsourcing provider, really along all of these different areas you see, from consulting, doing custom content, off-the-shelf content, our own leadership library. Very heavy into the delivery and administration function these days. Everybody's looking for ways to focus more on the strategic elements of their business and look to possibly put their back office somewhere else. So doing quite a bit there. And then we have obviously a very big technology practice, which I help lead at Infopro, which encompasses AI and then sourcing management. Really, we are designed to work primarily with larger organizations. That's really where we've seen to have the biggest impact. I mention that because I think a lot of times when we look at AI and leveraging AI, there are some barriers. And so I just wanted to call out ahead of time to say, listen, we've worked through these barriers with a lot of the organizations you're seeing on this screen. We understand your challenges, and a lot of what I show today, hopefully, is going to show you how we overcame some of those. Before I get started, I always like, this is my reference slide. I call it my Matt Damon reference slide of how much knowledge do you really need to know to get to stay in this conversation, right? You have True Grit, Matt Damon in the top left. This is Ocean's 11. Good Will Hunting or The Martian, really this conversation is going to be here, right? As long as you know a tiny bit about AI, you'll be fine in this presentation. This is not a deep technical dive into AI. I'd be happy to do that if anybody would care to be bored to death, message me and I can have those conversations if you find yourself more at the bottom end of the spectrum versus the top end of the spectrum. Again, we have 45 minutes today. My hope is that we can make this interactive. Please do let me know if you want me to pause, but we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. Why are you all here? I'm sure there's many reasons, but most people feel that AI opens up a lot of opportunities for them. At the very top, I put kind of that primary call to action, leveraging AI to improve performance and shrink costs by 30%. So this is actually the guarantee that we make to our clients that engage with us and work with us. We guarantee a 30% reduction in cost of those assets. But I think what's most important to realize, and the advice that we are giving to all of our clients, is we are not talking, and actually we would advise against saying, let's shrink your cost of your department by 30%. That's not really at all what we're talking about. What we're saying is if we can save you time and money in certain areas, it unlocks doors that maybe were potentially locked before. As an example, production in video is something that AI has really helped us leverage. And it used to be very cost prohibitive to be able to create these interactive videos and these 3D images and all of these things. But a lot of that cost has shrunk by more than 30%. Actually, the cost of video has shrunk by, I would say, like 70%. So if we can shrink that cost, that allows us to do so much more. We can reach a lot larger audience with the same amount of spend. So yes, the saving money, saving 30% looks really great, but really the conversation that we're most interested in is how can we get 30% more with the exact same money we have? So that's I think a great way to look at it. And the three core areas that we really have seen the advantages come from reduction in SME time, creating more immersive learning experiences, and decreasing production time and efforts, and then combining automation with AI to shrink cost to serve. And as I go through this presentation, you'll notice I'll try to kind of put myself into each one of those buckets and talk a little bit about how we might be able to leverage each of these things and the advantages and pros and cons of each of them. Start with a bit of a tech stack. So what you're seeing at the top is essentially like what are the different buckets that we have, which AI is really helping, and some of the ways and use cases. At the bottom is the list of the technologies that we use here at Infopro Learning. An important caveat here, I want to point out, when you look at the tools at the bottom, we found that a lot of organizations are kind of stuck in this area that we were stuck in 2.5 years ago. There were so many tools coming out and so many things were changing quickly within these tools that we found ourselves, within a team of 400, 500 instructional designers, we probably had 40 to 50 different tools. And we said, we have to stop this. We have to really unify at Infopro Learning and put a pin on the map and say, these are the tools that we feel are going to be the best. So how did we do that? And this is a good possibly thing that you might want to do, or you can just take our word for it, either way. But we said, okay, we're going to create divisions. We're going to create little units within our organization. And we are going to find and talk to IT and get somebody within their security team to sit with these units. We call them these brigades. So we said every brigade gets an IT security person attached to them. And our advice was really simple. Go out there and find these tools, test with these tools, explore the tools. As long as the IT person signs off and says, yes, you can do a trial of it, we're okay with it. And every month for the first 7 months, so this was 2 years ago, the brigades would report back and do a showcase and say, these are the tools that we're using. This is what we like. This is what we don't like. These are the pros. These are the cons. After all of that experimentation, these are the tools that we ended up landing on. So when you look at these tools, it's important, one, to know these are ones that we test, that we use, that really are at the forefront. And a lot of these were connected to the people developing these tools, so we can kind of have an idea of where they're headed on that trajectory. Other important thing to note, there's only one, there's one company on here that we are actually partnered with, which is Colossian. So like, don't think that anything else here is actually a paid endorsement. It's completely unpaid. But I think one of the very first steps you have to make when you're looking into AI is really finding and identifying a tool and not letting yourself jump from tool to tool to tool. A very good first step to take. And then, so we had our tools. We said, okay, these are kind of the things that we want to leverage, but let's also relook at the flow of work. Let's look at how AI can help us in everything that we do. So this is just looking at content. This is just looking at the content development life cycle. And what we did is we actually recreated, we said, in a typical content development life cycle, we had kind of broader stages, but with AI, if we broke it down into every individual thing that we do, into these, 10 or so steps, we have the ability to dig deeper into what is important, what is the person's job there, what is technology's job to really make this a human plus AI learning program. And so what you can see that we did is we said, as we kind of go through here, you'll see what does this thing mean? And then what are the AI powered approach? So what are we talking about? Product vision and blueprint. Then what is AI going to help with it? Prototyping, we talk about what is the basics of it. Then how do we use AI to get us things done quicker, better, faster? And really what it allowed us to do is to sit down, not just internally, but also with our clients and say, where do you feel you have a big bottleneck? Where are you slowing down the most? Because a lot of times when organizations were trying to boil the ocean with AI and trying to say, oh, we want to move everything to AI right away, it became almost too much for them, too much to manage. So a really good way to start is if those of you who haven't started, or maybe you've started, but you're kind of looking to create more of a model, this is on our website. You're welcome to go take it or create your own, but really map out the journey and make a call to action and say, this is where we're going to use it. This is where we're not going to use it. It creates a lot of clarity in the organization. And again, it also helps you identify those low hanging fruits. So let's get into some examples. I think that's probably what a lot of you people were here to see, is how are we actually leveraging this? This was a really cool project, actually. And it stemmed, I had a conversation with this company, ABB, and I wanted to show them how you could possibly leverage AI to drastically change the way that you're developing content. And what I did is I only used information available. I didn't speak to anybody at ABB. I just said, okay, I know ABB, their company has a lot of products, and these products are really complicated products. Like, think like $1 million, very confusing engineering products. I mean, just look at this. This is a guide. I went to their library, their product guide. This is called the ZEE 600 on electrification monitoring and control for distribution networks. Surely I have no idea what that means. I doubt many people within ABB might even know what that means. And you all have this similar feeling of, hey, you need to go out and create some product training, but we don't really know what this product is about. I've never worked with it before. So this is showcasing how might I create product training for something that's highly, highly technical. This is using our tool. So this is UBot. This is a tool that we have. It leverages, if you've heard the term generative AI, it is that type of tool. It's the exact same as Copilot, Claude, Chat GPT. Those three tools are all generative AI. There's a lot more as well. Gemini. What is the job of this tool to do is to take a lot of information and scan through it and give you an answer and produce new content based off of whatever you put in. So again, it's leveraging generative AI. The difference, though, like if you look at, okay, what is the real difference here between Infopro Learning's tool and a Chat GPT or something like that? All of these tools have a fundamental model on the back end that they leverage. They're called large language models, LLMs. That's not so important. What's really important is on the front end of what is the purpose of this tool. So this tool was designed to help L&D professionals create training programs better, faster, quicker. So how we have trained this tool is very specific in that regard. We've actually done a lot of work in training this tool to say, now, when you're giving answers, these are the types of audiences that you need to give this answer for. This is how you want to expand it. This is actually the best practices of adult learning principles. So instead of going scanning the web and picking from here, there, or there, or there, we're actually going to tell it what is that best practice look like. And so here, what we asked it is, can you summarize this product, right? I just took this product. It was a 70-page product guide. And within the matter of seconds, it's actually done a really good job of giving me just an overview of what this is. So it's a design for electrification, magnification of distributed networks. It's a visualization tool. Okay, and here's the key features. Okay, so now I've saved myself maybe 15 minutes. I didn't have to read through the guide. I was able to load it in and get a brief overview of what this is. Now I want to start to get to work. The first thing I got to do is to create a course outline. Before I dig into the actual content, I just want to know, what is the structure going to be? So I'm going to ask this tool, can you create an outline for the product? It should be about 30 minutes long. And in this one, I want it to be e-learning. And again, what I've done, I've just taken the publicly available information and the publicly available knowledge, thrown it into the tool and asked the question. And as you can see here, the answer that it gave was very, very specific. Not only is it specific to the content, but it also is structured in a very methodical way. For those of you, I know it's a little bit hard to read sometimes, but you can see it breaks it down into really what is considered best practices for how adult learning theories. If I can get back to it, I missed the thing. It breaks it into modules. We've got here 6 modules that start with a fundamental overview. It takes in deeper, 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 ends with case studies, and then has some conclusion and Q&A as well. So there's a really good structure. And then now that I've got this, I've got these 6 modules. So now I understand roughly what am I going to be training people on here on this product. What is the outline? Let me actually start the creation of assets. And I think what I want to do in the overview in the very beginning is I want to create a 90-second video script that I can use to introduce the product. So I'm going to ask this tool to create me a 90-second video script. And as you can see here, it's going to give me exactly that. It's not just going to give me the script, though. It's actually going to say what should be happening on the screen. Again, we've designed this in a way that it's supposed to deliver these assets to you and make your life easier. So you don't have to create a script one way, then think of the visuals on the other one. It's actually going to give you all of this right away. Now, a couple questions that immediately come up when I present this is like, well, yeah, but you still have to use a subject matter, which I think is absolutely valid. Like, you still have to have a human element, and I think you will for a really long time. But the difference is, if we contrast what we've just done here, right? This video itself, I mean, I've stopped and paused it several different times, but it's 2 minutes long in total. But what I've been able to showcase in 2 minutes is the old way of doing things. The old way, if I were to be told to create this product training for ABB, it would have taken me at least an hour just to get my bearings, right? Just to kind of understand, what is this product? Let me start to create some type of ideas in my mind. But then I'd realize, I need to go to a subject matter expert on this. I need to go talk to the person who knows this product and learn a little bit more, because yes, I'm reading this 70-page guide, but what really is important to know about this? Like, what do people really need to know? And so you go and you interview the subject matter expert, which then gets you a lot of the assets that you created. You have your course outline, and then you have your video script, you have your overview, you have your course outline. It's all created for you. And then you go back to this meeting, you say, I interviewed you. Now, this is what I heard. Is this right? Do you think this is going to work for you? So what we've done here with something like this, this tool, is we've said, let's still use this meeting. We still need to, but let's flip the model. It used to be a lot of heavy involvement up front, and then a trickle it kind of through the way. What we're saying is, let's take that heavy involvement and replace it with UBot. And then we'll still have that little bit along the way, because it is important to go back and say, hey, maybe they say, oh, licensing and system designs, we don't really need to get into that. Nobody needs to know licensing selection. That's kind of outdated. We're not using that at all. So really, really simple to go in there and edit, but it saved you a lot of time. Now, I'll use this time to be on a soapbox for a second, if you would let me. So this tool obviously has the ability to save you a lot of time. Like again, it maybe took you an hour. Now it takes you 10 minutes. The one thing that I would employ, if there's one thing you listen to me in this whole presentation, this is really where I would focus. I was at a conference recently, and I was listening to the head of Salesforce operations. He was at the the HR Tech conference in Vegas, and he was talking about how he used AI. And I told him, I had a bit of a roadblock with using AI. I said, listen, when I go and I have the tool, I find it really hard for me to know when to use AI and when not to use AI. It's really difficult for me to get that understanding. And he said, I completely understand you. And as the leader of a large org, my original thought was, I don't need to be using AI. I'm the leader of this organization. The only things that come to my lap are those really important, hard decisions. But he said, but the thing that changed my mind is I just started having my AI tool open, and I just kept it open on my browser. And I downloaded the app on my phone. So I forced myself to go there first. Anytime I wanted to do something, I'd open it up and I'd go there first. And I did that personally and professionally. In my family, somebody in my family doesn't do gluten. And so I started using it to say, can you make this recipe without gluten? What is a good gluten replacement for this? And it would start to spit out recipes for gluten-free. My wife and I did a trip to Palm Springs over Christmas. I asked the tool, can you find great hikes to do in the wintertime in Palm Springs? And it generates a much better answer. Again, I can do all of these things, what I just showed you on this screen, all of that can be leveraged. And you can do that with Google searches. You can do that with going and hunting and searching. But I can definitely tell you that if you do invest the time and start leveraging these tools, you will start to see the benefits pile up on top of each other. Again, 15 minutes. If you do 15 minutes, if you save yourself 15 minutes every single day, you get yourself at least an hour back by the end of the week. And I'm sure we all have things that we would love to do in that hour. And that's just 15 minutes a day. I saw a question, Melody Davis, is UBot available outside of an enterprise license? So to get UBot, you do have to connect with us. It is a tool that is custom designed. It's a little bit unique from the industry. So every agent, every bot that we have is uniquely developed for our clients. So we actually create a unique instance. It makes things a lot easier, especially for larger clients that need to have their own bucket. If you're a smaller client, absolutely would love to do it as well. There's no restrictions on it. You just have to reach out to us so that we can make sure that we can configure it and work it for you. I have some contact information at the end that I can share. So what I just showed again was that first bucket, democratizing your subject matter expertise time. And honestly, when as a company who has 300-400 instructional designers, and all of our work is working with clients and their subject matter experts, we did not realize how valuable that would be. We understood that AI would absolutely be leveraged to do things like go and find an image or create this video faster. We planned on that. That was expected. The unexpected thing was the reduction of SME time. And once we realized that, we actually pivoted ourselves and started developing these tools that made them better and better and better, because that really ends up being the bottleneck for a lot of organizations when it comes to getting these projects out. What I'm going to show you now here is an interesting concept. So this is our leadership bot. So the last bot, again, was designed to help you create better learning and development programs. This one is designed to be your coach and to be your guide. Now, it's kind of an interesting story arc here of the tool itself and how you can leverage tools like this. But more importantly, I want to stop and just look at the design of this tool. The last tool that we showed you, again, the design of that is the purpose is to help you produce assets. This one is to deliver coaching and leadership advice to employees. And again, this is a product of ours, but there are these products, out there. Others are doing it as well. But you can see in how AI is talking to me that it's a much different experience. Because when we're trying to do coaching or leadership advice, it's really important that we don't just give an answer. We don't just give, hey, here's your really high level insight and then off with your day. We wanted to create a tool that actually made people stop, think, and engage as if this was a real person. And it was what made this so interesting is we weren't really sure how people would leverage this type of content because leadership training has historically been a kind of a couple different things. It's, you either have a coach, you have like instructor led training sessions. Some people come in and teach you for a couple days, or you have like a spray and pray, LinkedIn Learning, Open Sesame kind of thing. And the problem with all of those is like none of those are just in time. There are some coaching services out there that are a little bit like that. But at the end of the day, a lot of that information is giving you information and formal training, right? Kind of the 70-20-10 model. That's the 10%. I'm learning from somebody talking to me. But then how am I going to apply that on my job immediately? How am I then going to take what I learned and use it in my job? The hypothesis here is that if we turned leadership training into gave an option, an added option, not that you don't do those other things, but have the added option of we've explained these principles to you in the past, but what we actually want to do is to be able to serve you up the same information right when you need it. And that's what this tool was designed for. But you can see here the way that we design the actual answers are much, much different. It is not, if you go into any other tool and ask it, it's just going to give you the answer. It's going to force me to kind of go down a path, talk back to me, let me know what's going on, start giving me real life advice. It's going to give me detailed advice. I can keep asking it questions. It's going to say, hey, which of these are going to be is the right option? And here I'm just talking to it as if I was a leadership coach, and it's going to continue to provide me answers along the way. So, the first use case on the last agent that we talked about was a lot about reduction of SME time. This one is really on improving that learning experience while also shrinking your cost to serve these learners. Again, this is a value add, but it doesn't come at a much added cost, right? This is a tool that's always on. This is a tool that is much closer to, let's say, like a $50 a month versus a $15,000 leadership session, but it's available 24/7 to everybody in your organization to leverage. Really, really cool tool that you can start leveraging. Now let's get into some of the more production assets, really going to drive into that learning experience. We're going to start by showcasing a video that we found online from this company, Lenovo. I'm going to mute it a little bit, or actually let it play for a second.
Today we're going to be replacing the base cover assembly. The process will take about 5 minutes and it should be easy enough for anyone to do. The only tool required is a Phillips screwdriver.
So you can get the point. What I want you to see here is think in your own training organization, if you were to create a training program like this in the top left. We obviously have at least one camera. It looks like we have two cameras because you can see this cut scene right there is shooting it from a different angle. We have a professional mic. You could see that on his lapel. You could see that we've got another video camera showing somebody actually working on these assets. And obviously there's a lot of cuts. There was a production team. So you need a studio, you need cameras, you need mics, you need somebody who can actually stand up in front of the computer, the camera and talk and be willing to do so. You can imagine what this costs. And then heaven forbid that you have to make a change to that video, right? That would be incredibly cost prohibitive. What we did is we said, give us that, let's take that same content and let's use this tool called Synthesia to generate an AI video. Again, same type of content.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mike with Lenovo, and I'm here today with the ThinkPad X390. Anyone to do. The only tool required is a Phillips screwdriver. Before we continue, we need to make sure we're protected against the electrostatic discharge.
So I'll let this keep playing in the background. I think the big and what I tell people is, listen, whether you like this video on the right better, worse, you like this video on the left better or worse, let's assume you like the video on the left better, like in its one-time shot. Let's assume though it costs you 10 grand. I don't know what it would have cost them internally to make that, but let's assume something like the 10 grand. This video could be done in a couple hours and the cost of a license. And then anytime you have to edit this, anytime you have to make adjustments to this, it's a very simple quick fix. You just go into the tool, make the edit, and you're on with your day. So maybe this was 10,000. This is what, $1,000 maybe at the most between the time it took you and everything else. So it's 10 times less expensive, which means not necessarily that you again, you're going to save and do everything, but it means that you can now add video where maybe you could not. Maybe now you could create a video for all of your training programs when in the past it was too cost prohibitive. Maybe this is the video that actually sparks the interest for people to take the training programs. So it allows you to engage those learners across multiple modalities without that added cost, right? A lot of the things that we're learning now is just how different people are learning and using AI tools. One of the things I'm not going to showcase here, but I absolutely have, one of the things that we've started doing just recently is actually taking training programs and creating podcasts out of them, because we realize there's a large audience that likes to listen, and they like to listen in the background. Maybe it's not a critical learning for them, but they just kind of want to be listening like they would a podcast. So we actually can take the same content. So just like we loaded the content in here, we can load it into a tool and it's going to generate a podcast out of that using AI voice. Again, without having that extra added cost, a huge extra added cost. Really, really good way to, again, you're reaching more audience without having to expend that extra resource. What is the time to productivity on the app? Is it Melody? I'm guessing you're talking about Synthesia. So a couple different things. If you're talking about time to productivity, like how long does it take for you to use Synthesia and then get brought up to speed? All of these tools are designed for what I would call like a non-tech savvy person. Because that's the value of AI, is like, you don't need to know all of these things. What I will say though, all of the tools, whether it was Synthesia, any of the tools, honestly, that I'm going to show today are really, really simple to get into. But the type of person that you have in the tool is really important. If you have a really heavy design expert and design person leveraging that, they can probably make it look really, really nice because they know the graphical interfaces and they know what looks right, what doesn't look right, versus having somebody that maybe is really good in instructional design principles, but doesn't understand how to make things look designed. And that's really the interesting thing with all of these tools, is some of them, you don't actually need the instructional design knowledge within the tool itself. Maybe you leverage the Copilot or ChatGPT to do that, to create the course outline, and all you're doing is have this person use Synthesia to take a program that took you $10,000 and you now make it $1,000. So it really depends on the type of person that you put in the app, is really, really key. And whether honestly you want to have your team even learn these new tools in the first place is becoming a really big conversation with our clients, where they are saying, gosh, you're able to leverage these tools so quickly. I don't really think that I'll be able to train my team in time to leverage these and start making progress. So we have actually created a whole program where we say, we will do all the asset development for you. We will incur all the tool costs. We will have all the tools. We will essentially become your outsourced AI studio to leverage all of this without having to do the change management internally. So Melody, if your question was how long to get brought up to speed, again, they're really simple. 2-3 weeks is really, I think, all you would need. And then you would just get better over time. Now, the productivity within the app, like how long does it take you to get from, a 2-hour video to the one on the right? Again, easily 10x time saving. Oh, and somebody just said that. Christopher just said improve development time by 10%. Okay, well, it looks like we're aligned there. Thanks for having my back, Christopher. The second tool is one called Adobe Firefly, a really cool design tool. All that I'm showcasing here is, again, when we talk about saving time, I'm not a really good artist, right? That's not something I've been really good at. And so graphic art is really, really tough for me, right? I could never create really good assets without the help of a graphic artist. With Adobe Firefly, though, we're able to take raw illustrations and turn them into really fine graphic artwork. So here I'm going to play this video that we did. And again, this is all leveraging AI. I'm going to skip ahead to a couple cool scenes. This next one here. This one here. So this, what you're seeing here, this screen is this one in the top right. This came from this drawing by hand. Now, the real value add is to get to this state here off to the right would take somebody that was a graphic artist, right? If you were actually, you would have to be able to draw, you would have to be able to use Adobe Illustrator really, really well. And that person probably comes, one, the person comes at a cost, and two, it's an additional resource, right? You would need an instructional designer to draw up the program and create the course outline. Then you would need a graphic artist to come in and draw these out. A lot of times with these tools, you're able to kind of get two in one. Again, if you can turn this type of drawing into something that looks like this within AI, you now have saved yourself that graphic artist's work in that time. And again, I mean, the asset itself looks really nice comparatively to what that was. And this is the same drawing of this one here. Sorry, this one right up here in the top right. So again, Adobe Firefly, really, really cool tool. Any Adobe suite product, I would say, takes a little bit longer, like a Synthesia, Colossian, Ubot, things like that. Are really, really simple because it doesn't take a lot of coding and they've kind of been designed to take you through the way. All the Adobe products, I think there's a fairly steep like curve to get into it. But once you're into it, and especially if you're already in the Adobe suite, it makes sense, but it does take a little bit more time. Yes, translation and voice works great with Synthesia. Just there's Saeed, I saw you said that translation and voice is something I don't actually talk a lot about here, but it is a huge value for organizations that have those global companies to have a way to cut out some of that translation. Really important, though, I just want to call out how the accuracy of that translation. So Synthesia is a really good tool, but there's tools that are like designed specifically for that, which I had on the first couple ones, like 11 Labs and a couple others that I have. They're really good at translations and they do it really well. I would advise you still, if you have the budget, if you have the time, especially if it's like if it's a very critical training program where every word is crucial, I highly recommend you still have somebody do an audit of that because it's not perfect yet. And I mean, none of these tools are perfect yet. So I guess you should apply that same caveat to everything, right? When I was talking about the tool at the beginning, I said you still need a subject matter expert to go in there and check that work. That applies across the whole way, and translation is absolutely one of those. But end of the day, again, remember, the other way of doing it is to have it translated by a person 10, 15, 20 different languages. And we know the costs associated to that and the upkeep associated to that is monumental. You save yourself a lot more time and money if you take that same output and give it to a person who knows that locally and can just do edits. So really, really important. This is a really cool tool. So Runway does a lot. I'm just going to show kind of a really basic one. Runway ML we use to do a lot of different video production for us, but it actually is creating clips and scenes for us just based off of whatever scene that we draw out. We all know how long it takes to find the exact stock video that we want. And a lot of times it doesn't exist, so we just don't even think we can do it. Or we have to pay an exorbitant fee to actually get it done. Runway ML is doing amazing work in this space to create very lifelike videos that can really make your L&D organization look like a studio. You can see here on the left, we had a very specific ask, right? A busy mining site with machinery, workers in the background. What are we talking about? Blah, blah, blah. Now, the interesting thing here is if you watch this video and spend a little bit of time just watching it, you would probably not see many things wrong. But if I were to go through, and again, this is why a person reviewing it is important. If we get to this part, and I'll pause it here, you can see this very comical, looks like a Tonka truck guy operating this forklift. Again, and you might even say to yourself, well, geez, it was a 10-second clip. I wouldn't have noticed it unless I looked at this 13 times. And maybe it's actually okay that even exists because people are anyways only focused on the foreground. But that is where you really want to make sure that you have somebody reviewing these things. Also, at the very beginning, when I talked about tools and how we selected tools, a lot of what we were trying to focus on was finding the tools that minimize these errors. It doesn't mean that they're not there, but they actually have made the most progress in making sure that whatever we asked it to do, it did it exactly how we wanted it to. And this is the last example that I'm going to show. So this is kind of wrapping everything up. Here, we did not get any information from this client. The client said, just create a video for us. And we said, okay, cool. We're going to take information online that's readily available, and we're going to use every AI tool we have, and we have to get it done within 2 days. And I'm going to play that here.
Welcome aboard Alcoa Frontline Supervisors. You've just stepped into Mission Starbound. Alcoa has embarked on an out-of-this-world adventure, and you're the key to making it happen. Your mission? Build the Ark Explorer, a spacecraft destined to reach Proxima b, a new planet with bauxite beyond our solar system. This isn't just any spacecraft. It'll carry the tools, AI, and supplies humanity needs to build our first bauxite outpost on a whole new world. Why you? You've been picked because you are ready to become one of Alcoa's elite frontline managers. Together, we're aiming for the gold standard: 0 safety incidents, 0 defects, and net 0 emissions. Our 000 mission critical goal. No pressure, right? Here's how you'll make it happen. Focus keeps safety and quality at the forefront. Excellent.
So I'm not going to play it forward, but I think, for me, I've been in this space not nearly as long as I'm sure many people on the call, but over the last 14, 15 years, I mean, I know what we used to charge for these videos. I know how hard it would be to take these. I mean, honestly, just processing a video at that scale would have taken like, I don't know, 8 hours just for the tool to actually, the server to be able to cut up fast enough to leverage it. It is such a remarkable thing you can do to create a bunch of these videos, engaging learning content, and really make an impact. The most important thing, again, which I started with and I'll kind of end with as well, is if you're just new into this world, just start leveraging AI yourself. The more that you start using it, again, whether it's on your job or outside of your job, you will start to see that it can open up a world of possibilities. I've only scratched the surface here of what it can be done, of what we used to do it for. But you have to start leveraging it. Now, I will mention a little caveat for those of you who use Copilot, and a lot of companies are kind of forced to use Copilot. That's not the best experience, sadly. The tools that I have used quite a bit that I'm in love with is Claude. It's by a company called Anthropic. ChatGPT is really good as well. Copilot has not quite caught up to the mark of those other organizations. So if you find yourself frustrated, if you have used the tools and maybe you used them a year ago and you just thought, gosh, it's not really doing what I want to do, I'd explore you to try some of these other tools out and see if it gives you a better answer. We're kind of coming up at the end of the presentation, though. I do want to give you some information here. Claude is exactly right, Vicky. if you want to talk, if you have work and maybe you're one of these organizations who wants to start leveraging AI and you want to see how we can help, we'd love to work with you. Shoot us an email. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I love to talk about this topic and lots of other topics. Please do that. And then also, if you're interested in a private session with your team, this is something that I spend a lot of my time doing, is this same presentation, but to one-on-one with an organization, so that we can get a little bit deeper into maybe the issues that you're solving, or possibly we want to create a pilot program and talk in depth about what a pilot program for your organization might look like. So if you're interested in a private session, email us as well. Really want to thank everybody for joining today. Again, happy to answer the questions. I think we're at our time now, so I'm sure Avery is going to cut us off. So I don't have a ton of time for the Q&A. Melody, I did see your question. That's a longer answer. I'll type it in here as I as I get kicked off from Avery, but I will type the answer to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nolan. Yeah, I hate to end the party here. This was a really, really awesome, informative session. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you everyone for your engagement in the chat. And with that, we are going to take about a 15-minute break. And up next, we have Dr. Alan Partridge joining us from Adobe for their session, Who is Driving the Bus? Crafting Effective AI Application Strategies. So in just a moment, I will end this session, and you can join our next session by returning to the event lobby and going to the session tab. But Nolan, I'm going to let you finish typing out your message, and then I'll take everyone out.
I just gave a short
Awesome.
answer, but I can connect later. So I realize that's a really, really short answer.
Perfect. Well, thanks again for your time, and we'll see everybody soon.
Thank you.